Okay, good morning, boys and girls. In this video, we're going to use something called end behavior and multiplicity to sketch a polynomial. So I'm just going to kind of give you some information, and then we will talk about what that information means. So the leading coefficient, so if we have a function y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and it could be any degree polynomial. This value of a is known as the leading coefficient, and it tells us some valuable things about the polynomial. If the leading coefficient is positive and the degree is even, then our function will look something like this. Notice at the end. So if the leading coefficient is positive and the degree is even, then both ends of our graph are up. They both go to positive infinity. However, if the leading coefficient is negative and the degree is even, then both of our ends go towards negative infinity, and your graph will look something like this. And when I say that, it can look like a quadratic. It could look like, it could have several terms in it, but we just know that at the end, both sides are going towards negative infinity. Now, if our leading coefficient is positive, but our function is is odd, the highest exponent is odd, then it's going to look like this. Okay? And again, it could have more terms. It's just that one side, the left side, goes to negative infinity, and the right side is going to go to positive infinity. So it could look like that, having more degree, depending upon the degree. But if our leading coefficient is negative and we're odd, then it's just going to kind of be switched. The left side is going to go to positive infinity, and the right side is going to go towards negative infinity. So these are the four different shapes a polynomial will take on. And we're going to look at the leading coefficient a, whether or not it's positive or negative, and the degree to determine how to graph this function. So let's do some examples. We're given this polynomial. What is the degree of this polynomial? Well, the degree is 3. Okay? And what is a? Is a positive or is a negative? So this is a. Let's do it with a different color. This is a. So is a positive or is a negative? And we see that a is negative. And the possible number of zeros is 3 because of the degree. And the domain for all polynomials is negative infinity to infinity. All polynomials have that domain. Okay? So what is this going to look like? So let's go back up to our table. Our a is negative, so that means we're looking either here or there. And our degree is odd. It's 3. So we're going to follow this pattern. Our degree is odd with a negative leading coefficient, and we know that there's a possible of 3 zeros. So that means that our function is going to look something like that, and it's going to cross the x-axis 3 times because it could possibly cross the x-axis 3 times because that's the number of possible zeros. So we're going to start, it's negative and odd, so we're going to start at the top. And we come down, and it's going to cross 3 times. So I've already crossed once, twice, and I'm somewhere in there I got to go back down. So that is a possible graph. We don't know it's the graph. We don't know where it crosses the x-axis because it's not in factor form. We don't know when it turns, but that is a possible graph for that polynomial. Okay? So now let's look at the next one. So is a positive or negative? A is positive. What is the degree of this polynomial? The degree is 4. So we have a 4th degree. So the possible number of zeros are 4. And what's the domain? The domain is always of a polynomial is negative infinity to infinity. So let's go back up to our chart and see which one we're going to try. We have a is positive. So if A is positive, that means we're looking at either this one or this one. And our degree is 4, so our degree is even. So that means our polynomial is going to look like that. Okay, so both ends are going to go up toward the heavens. So we're going to start here. Let me get a pen. And we're going to cross that axis. We can cross it as many as 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to end up back going up. So that's a possible. Again, I have no idea what this graph looks like because it's not in factored form. I don't know where the zeros are, but that would be the basic shape of it. All right, let's look at the next problem. And here we have that A is negative, because remember A is this coefficient. That's A. So A is negative. What is the degree? The degree is 6. So the degree is even. Sorry. And the possible number of zeros is 6. The domain for all polynomials is negative infinity to infinity. So what is this going to look like? So A is negative, which means that we're going to have, I keep putting different symbols on this, I'm running out of colors. So A is negative and my degree is even. So that means it's going to look like this. Okay, so my graph is my end behavior, both of them will go toward the negative infinity. So this would look sort of like this, and it could have as many as, cross the x-axis as many as 6 times. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it would look something like that. Not to say it looks like that, because I think there's some multiplicity somewhere in there, but that's just a basic guess of it. All righty, I want you to do the last one. So just kind of sketch a basic graph of what that looks like. Pause the video and come back and I'll show you. Okay, welcome back. For this one, we see that our leading coefficient is positive. So A is positive. Our degree is 5. That means we have possibly 5 zeros. And our domain for all polynomials is negative infinity to infinity. So the degree is odd and it's positive. So that means it's going to look like this one. Okay? So we're going to start by going upward. So we're going to have to start with, that one's going to go towards negative infinity. We're going to cross at least 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Alrighty. So that is how we use that's how we use the degree and the leading coefficient to sketch a graph. So come back to the next video and watch how